Or am I supposed to look at you at the camera?
Good day and welcome to Common Sense with Tom Schmitz. My guest today is Blaine Whitt, the CEO and founder of Xtreme Soulutions, a ministry that goes inside our prison systems here in the state of Florida and helps offenders transition back into society. We'll get to Mr. Whitt and Pastor Whitt in just a moment, but before we get to that, While You Were Sleeping, brought to you by the Riley Art Center. I will tell you that all the views expressed here on Common Sense with Tom Schmitz are those of the host and guest only, and in no way reflect the views of the CEP, the Power Plant Business Incubator, the City of Ocala, or Marion County. Now to While You Were Sleeping, brought to you by the Riley Art Center, the premier performing arts center in our area with concerts, dance events, and comedy events. The Riley has something for everyone. Visit them at www.rileyartcenter.com for an up-to-the-moment calendar of events. The City Council yesterday, in a 5-0 vote, unanimously voted to reinstate Ocala Police Chief Greg Graham back to his position. Then, as all that was dying down, Councilwoman Mary Sue Rich decided that she would interject herself into the conversation by saying that she thought that there needed to be a vote taken about the City Council disciplining the chief for all the situations that he had put the city through. What? The chief didn't put the city through this. Bobby Franks, a lawyer out of Gainesville, who sashayed in here in her skin-tight outfits with her blonde hair tussed up just perfect for the cameras, pounding on podiums, demanding that the City of Ocala kowtow to her and her demands of her clients. That's who cost all this to the city, not Chief Greg Graham, in my opinion. There was much discussion about whether the City Council had the right to take a vote to discipline the chief. I'm to understand that the city charter says the mayor is in charge of the police department, and therefore disciplining the police department falls under the guise of the mayor's job. If the mayor doesn't do his job effectively, we, the voters, get to make that decision, not City Council. That's just my opinion. They did take a vote and voted 3-2 to not discipline Chief Greg Graham. And shortly afterwards, I was standing outside with some police officers that were in attendance at the hearing and was able to hear over the radio, A1 is 10-8. That means the chief is back on duty. Good luck, Chief Graham, through the rest of your endeavors as chief of police. Sorry for the disruption and problems that were caused by the overzealousness of a Alachua County resident coming into Marion County and trying to force their will upon us. And Godspeed for all you do and for all you help us with, and your men and women in blue help us with the Ocala Police Department. That was While You Were Sleeping, brought to you by the Riley Art Center. Go see them at the RileyArtCenter.com for all their up-to-date menu. See, it's easy for me to say. I'm so fired up, and I'm trying to be nice because I have a pastor in the room, so I'm trying to be nice about this Greg Graham situation. So I'm getting a little flustered because I'm really, really angry, but I'm trying to be nice. Sometimes your anger needs to be tempered. But the Riley Art Center, www.rileyartcenter.com for the most up-to-date calendar of events. Now I would like to welcome in my guest, the founder and CEO of Xtreme Soulutions. That's Xtreme Soulutions.
Correct.
Pastor Blaine Whitt. Pastor, good morning to you.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
Now, tell people exactly what Xtreme Soulutions is. For somebody that says you're a ministry in the prison systems,
right?
But what is your ministry in the prison system?
All right. Our ministry really is reentry. The idea is to empower people to be successful when they come out of prison. And our belief is that every person on the planet deserves a second chance. But it's all about empowerment. It's about giving men and women and youthful offenders the tools that they need to truly be successful when they EOS or end of their sentence. and they walk back into society, they have to have some kind of tools, they have to have support, they need a case management, and that's basically what we do.
Cards on the table. Most people know this about me. I've not always been a nice person. I, in my 20s, had my stint inside, as we refer to it in Georgia, inside.
Yeah.
I made me a better person, made me the man I am today. And in November of 1987, without that trip inside, I'd have probably not realized that what I had learned in catechism class and what the priest had been saying in sermons in Catholic Church, what it truly meant. And so I was able to stand up in a meeting of a ministry in prison and commit myself and my actions to the Lord Jesus Christ. Don't always do it the best.
Right.
Some people say, well, Tom, we see you out sometimes. Well, hey, nobody's supposed to judge me except the man upstairs. And believe me, I know I got my faults.
Yeah.
We all do. If there's not a sinner amongst us, show
right.
me the second coming of Jesus Christ.
Right,
That's
right.
all I can tell you.
That's right.
So, but I was able to use that ministry to help me get back on my feet, to learn. It actually made me understand that it was my fault that I was in there in the first place. It was a counseling. It led me back to a decision I'd made as a youth, that I knew that Jesus Christ existed and that I needed to follow the Lord. But I don't want to say I found Jesus in prison, but it reaffirmed what I already knew and gave me a path to continue on.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of the times all people are looking for, is a path to, because at times when you feel those electronic doors shut, and you know that the correctional officer that walks away with their igloo cooler and their lunchbox, and they go in and out, and you form relationships. Don't get me wrong, people. You form relationships. I remember Sergeant White just as well as it is as I saw today. We'd be able to have a good time talking to each other, and he was a prison guard at the Prison Institute in Claxton, Georgia, where I was at, the Claxton prison there. And Lonnie Bradley, who I played football with at Georgia Southern, was also a sergeant on at that same prison. So, you know, I knew a lot of people, because in a small town, you get to know some of the people.
Right.
You run into friends of yours you went to high school with or something that are now on the law side of
Absolutely.
it. And but a lot of people are just looking, because you think at times when you hear those electronic doors shut, and you're laying in that rack at night, and you're staring up at the ceiling because you can't see any way that life can improve, because you're now convicted felon. You know that when you get out, that it's going to be very difficult to find a job, so it's very easy to go back into the lifestyle that got you into jail in the first place. A lot of people just need that path, and that's what you're talking about, is help and supply a path for people once that electronic door opens back up, and you take that brown paper bag with that state check and those cheap khaki pants they give you to dress in, and leave prison.
That's right. Yeah, you have to have some resources out there, and I think it's important too, Tom, that people would know that the way that we started this organization or ministry is I have a past too, and it was through what I grew up in and seeing the violence and the alcoholism, the addictions and the dysfunction that caught me a attempted murder charge when I was 20. And fortunately back then, down in South Florida, there was kind of the good old boys, and everybody knew everybody still.
So what helped me in Georgia was the good old boys.
Well, if it wasn't for that, I would have caught whatever it would have been, probably a life sentence. But I understand what it's like to be on that side of the fence. I understand what it's like to be without hope. I understand what it's like to be the underdog every single day of your life. And most of these people that we serve have that same story. So that's the reason why we do what we do. I've been there. I know what it's like. I know the feeling. I know the opposition that they face every day. And I also know that without some sort of resources, without having people surround them, love them, give them hope, a sense of purpose, a mission, and then some skills, they're going to go right back to Egypt. They're going to go back and do what they've always done, because that's all they know how to do. And that $50 and a bus ticket does not solve any of our
Not
social
a
problems.
bit. Not a
And
bit.
then, on top of that, when you have an offender go back re-offend, now you have another victim or victims. That means the taxpayer now is back supervising that inmate, because we're the ones that's paying it, not the state. You and I pay that bill, 3 hots in a cot every day.
Well, except on the weekend. It's only 2 hots on the weekend.
I think at MCI they get...
They still get 3 there?
Yeah, they get 3.
So, yeah, Georgia, you get 2 on the weekend. That's
tough,
it.
man.
Tough.
Georgia's tough.
Tough.
But it's imperative. I mean, it's so important, Tom, that these individuals coming out, they get that second shot. They get that chance at life. And when they have the support, especially from a ministry like ours, who these men and women have been in our program up to 3 years or longer. And so by now, we know who they are. We know their character. We put them through what we call our filters in our ministry, that they actually have to prove themselves. It's not a welfare program. They have to earn the right to be in our program. And then once they get inside of our program, it's a task every day to stay, because they go to classes 5 nights a week. They have a high level of accountability. They have responsibility. We've now developed leadership teams where it's peer-to-peer counsel, and it's been a total game changer.
So, if I'm hearing you right, then not only do you help guide people on a path towards getting their life back in order once they get back on the outside, but then you take those people who've gotten their lives back in order and use them as teachers and instructors.
Absolutely.
To help the next group that is coming out.
That's right. Right now we have 2 of our instructors. Both of them did time right there at Marion CI, and they're going back in with their wives. And these guys did serious time, which all time is serious, but these guys, both of them, between the both of them, probably have 20 years. And they know how to relate back to these men, obviously, because they've been there. They slept in the same dorm that we have an office in right now. So they get it, they understand it. And not only do the men that have been through our program go back in, they also have some of their family members coming in. They're bringing in people from their churches. One of our men that's an instructor out there now was in our program. He graduated out of prison. He ended his sentence, and now he is one of our instructors back in the work camp. So these guys are now putting back into the community as well.
How difficult must it be to go back on a daily basis to where you knew you were at for years and couldn't leave?
Yeah.
I don't even want to know the mental psyche it must take to be able to go back in there knowing there was a lot of your life when you couldn't leave there.
That's right.
That speaks volumes.
Well, they know, these guys know the COs. A lot of them, the ones that's been there for years. And but what it does do, Tom, is it makes such a positive statement to the men and the women that are incarcerated, because when they look at these guys coming out, one of them is Joe Suggs, the other one is Oliver Shockley. Both these guys, they were street guys right here in Ocala. I mean, they were the bad of the bad. But now these other inmates are looking at them and going, man, if he did it, I can do it. And so that's where the inspiration comes for these guys. I mean, it's powerful.
Well, you know, I'm very good friends with Major Todd Mashburn of the Bullitt County Sheriff's Department in Statesboro, Georgia, who at the time of my situation, what is it now, 87, 30 years ago. Wow. It's been that long. Wow. Didn't realize it was that long ago. He is now a guy who calls on me about twice a year. And I go back home, which I call Statesboro home. I was born in Jacksonville. People say, where are you born at? I said, South Georgia. They say, what part? I said, Jacksonville. But my formative years were in Georgia. The years where I learned to be felony stupid were in Georgia.
Right.
And I go back home periodically, and Todd has me speak to the drug school. They got drug court up there. And Todd has me speak to drug school and allows me to tell my story. And people don't understand how much good can come out of, because you can go and a very nice pastor of a church can go in and can minister and can tell people about God and can tell people about the scriptures and why you need to get your life right. And people will listen.
That's right.
But not near as much they're going to listen to, like you said, Mr. Shockley, who they know have walked a mile in their shoes.
That's right. Been there.
Been there,
Absolutely.
done that, from the streets.
Yeah. Absolutely.
and goes back in, they know he's not BSing them. He knows what he's talking about.
And now they're successful businessmen on the outside doing well.
How important is people like Mr. Shot, because I'm sure they're all volunteers.
Yeah, they are.
How important is the volunteerism to your program and the success of your program?
I'm telling you, buddy, it is everything. We could not do what we do without our volunteers. They're literally the heartbeat of our
You
organization.
got over 100 volunteers, don't you?
Yeah, over 100. And what I love about the folks that are serving right now, when you take the holistic approach that we have to reentry, we're not just ministering to the man or the youthful offender or the lady that's over at Lowell. We are literally ministering to the entire family. So when you have a man who's incarcerated and he's getting out in 12 months, 13 months, we make contact with that family member and find out what their needs are. We'll do what we call a needs assessment. And then once we see that situation, then we'll begin to see what can we do to help that situation at home. We've had some of our volunteers bought tires for some of the ladies, brought food into their houses, helped them with employment. It's just amazing what our volunteers do over and above what you could ever dream or imagine to empower these folks.
You bring up a very good point about reentry. I think people think reentry, the door opens, you come out, you go back into society, and you've served your time now, so go out there and try to make a success. But what reentry really means is you get out, you're either at your mama's house sleeping on the couch because you now don't have a place anymore. If you've done serious time, you don't have a place.
That's right.
Or you're on a friend's couch, or you're on some girl's couch that you knew back in the day, or you're at one of the shelters or something. That, you know, and believe me, that sleeping on your mama's couch or a friend's couch doesn't last very long.
No.
You got to do some things to make sure you're making money so you can get out on your own and find your own place. And it's real easy to say, well, I know how to make money. That's where you're talking about this system comes into play, to make sure their system's set up where they don't have to, 2 weeks into it, have that conversation where, Bubba, I'm glad you're out and all, but you laying on the couch watching Jerry Springer ain't working. You're going to have to go get a job and everything.
Right.
You have to find something, or you're going to have to get out of the house.
That's right.
And then the one person will say, well, I know how I can go make $100 in an hour.
Yeah.
I know how I can go stick up a 7-Eleven and get some money right now.
Yeah.
That's what you're trying to combat.
Absolutely. What we've discovered when these men and women are coming out and youthful offenders, there's 3 primary obstacles that they face. Number one, the biggest one, is their housing. If they've been down a long minute, you're right, most of them, their wife has left, or all options are off the table for them. So housing is number one. Number 2, employment is the second biggest one, and then third is transportation. So those 3 right there are what we call the 3 big tickets. Those are the things that we truly help these men and women with, so that they can get beyond the barrier that they face. Plus, as you know, when they come out, many of them are on what we call paper. They're on probation or parole, which takes it to a whole new level, because now he's going to go and apply for a job, right, at McDonald's. And McDonald's says you have to work from these hours to these hours, but his probation officer says, no, you have to come in every month on this day at this time.
No exceptions.
So, usually.
Right.
Because they have a caseload too.
Certainly,
so
they got a desk full. They got file cabinets full.
So these are the obstacles that these folks face: employment, housing, transportation, and again, our volunteers play a huge role on that, because they assist in all 3 of those areas.
Not only that, but people don't realize when you're on paper, now your parole officer or your probation officer also comes to your job on a regular basis to check on you to make sure you're there. And that has a tendency at times to be, if nothing less than just embarrassing sometimes, because you'll get these questions, why is that man in here with a badge wanting to know if you're here and everything? You know, to people that you may not want to know what your history was. Your boss or your employer has to know, but you don't always want to know. But the parole officer or probation officer doesn't care what you want other people to know. They're coming in to check to make sure you're living a law-abiding life. These are all obstacles the offender has to face.
Absolutely.
I get this question a lot when I have these kind of conversations, and you and I talked about it briefly off camera. Now, it's always been said, in a game of hide and seek, if you ever are having trouble finding Jesus, go to the prison. You can find Jesus quick in the prison system.
He's there.
Yeah, he's there. You can always find God in prison. And I say that as a person who just said on this show, I reaffirmed my knowledge of God while I was in prison.
That's right.
But how big a challenge it is for you as a ministry to weed out the people that are just doing lip service to make, to get that extra hour in the ministry or something, so they're not in the dormitory,
Right.
versus people who are really committed to turning their lives around and making a better chance for themselves once they rejoin society. What's the challenges you face there?
Well, let me explain our system, and it will answer that question. Right now, we have 207 men that are in our program just right here at MCI, Marion Correctional Institution. And we have F dorm, which is a program dorm now. It's 2-man cells. It will house 202 men, and we have an office up there. And so our system now is we have a leadership structure, and I have what's called OLAC, Operation Launch Advisory Council, which these are men that have been with me a long time out there. They've proven themselves. These are stand-up inmates, and that's my top leadership. And then the next layer of leadership is what we have elders, and there's an elder on each wing, and we have 6 wings in this dorm. So we have an elder on each wing. Up underneath the elders, we have what's called a PF, or a peer facilitator, that oversees a family group of men. So what we've done, we've taken 200 plus men, broken them down into family groups of 10. So you have a PF who oversees this family group. Then you have the elder that oversees the wing. Then you have the Operation Launch Advisory Council that oversees the entire operation. So to answer your question, how do we know? Number one, only man knows his own heart.
Right.
And there's some
Only
really,
God and you know whether
That's
you're
it.
really committed or not.
So there's some of the best con men in the world are right here in our prisons.
Oh, certainly.
Right? So they can tell you anything. But we have a system in place with these filters, and actually one of the men in our program came up with this term that the man will eventually dry snitch on himself. So if he's not in it to win it, inside our dorm, with a high level of accountability, if he's wanting to smoke tweezy, if he's out there doing drugs, if he's running a hustle, if he's running a store, whatever his game is,
It'll eventually be found out.
it's going to be found out. So that's how we do it. So they literally dry snitch on themselves. But what we do, this is really good, because our ministry is about second chances, it's about grace. I had a second chance, you have a second chance. So what we do is that peer facilitator will actually step to that individual, whoever was doing what, kind of get in his chest a little bit and say, look, man, you have an opportunity to do the right thing, and here's the paper you sign that says I want to change my life. So these guys sign a contract with me.
So you make them accountable
Absolutely.
at every turn, every way they turn.
They can't do anything without being accountable.
When you were telling me about the structure, the way it's set up, it struck me. Now, I'm a lifelong Catholic, raised in the Catholic Church, but I was pretty good at softball. Mm-hmm. So you'd be amazed how you get invited to some Baptist church if you can play some softball.
Yeah.
You a role ambassador, do
Yes,
my
sir.
best, be a well-informed follower of Jesus Christ, because I can play shortstop.
There you go.
So, and I always was fascinated by the structure of the Baptist church, because you had the church council, you had the deacons, and you had Sunday school teachers.
Yeah.
That's kind of the setup you have here. You have the church council, you have the elders and the deacons,
That's right.
and then you have the family coordinator, the Sunday school teachers.
Right. Well, one of the terms that the men use out here is we are self-governing, meaning that the inmates, the men in our program, they literally govern themselves. And there's a saying, and I can't remember who the author of this saying was, but it basically just simply says this: if a nation or a people will not govern themselves, they will be governed by tyrants.
Right.
And so these men understand that if they will self-govern our house out there, which is F-dorm, and we take care of our problems in-house and as peer-to-peer before the police get involved with whatever's going down inside the dorm, then we don't have any issues. And I'll tell you a real good testimony. In November of 2015 is when we took this dorm. It became a program dorm. Prior to that, it was what it was referred to as the gladiator dorm, which means it was
Fight night.
bloodiest dorm on the compound. And from November 2015 to date, right now, unless something happened last night that I don't know about, there's not been one drop of blood shed in that dorm. That's the change. And even the COs, the wardens, everybody sees the change in these men's life because we are self-governing.
And it makes the COs and the wardens' jobs lots easier because that's a
yes.
dorm they don't worry about now.
Absolutely.
That makes it a lot easier. So if somebody's moved by what we've talked about today, and I hope some of you are, if they wanted to get in touch with Xtreme Solutions Ministry to maybe volunteer, or by the way, it's 501(c). Money is never going to be turned down.
That's right.
How can they get in touch with the ministry?
Well, they can call our office at 352-694-4888, and our webpage is www.xtremesoulutions.org.
.org.
And solutions is SOULUTIONS.
So Xtreme, XTREME, Solutions, SOULUTIONS.org.
.org, and we have a Facebook page. Xtreme
Facebook,
Solutions.
social media is
Social
everywhere.
media, yeah.
Everywhere. Well, Pastor, I'm so glad I got to meet you. Brian Morgan told me I was going to be happy when I met you,
Yeah.
so I'm so happy I got to meet you.
Good deal.
And after we get off camera, I'm going to talk to you because I think, I think maybe some conversations could be had where I might be able to.
Oh boy, I love it.
Give some stories that may help, may not help. You never know.
Yeah.
You never know if you turn that one life around.
That's right.
You never know, and that's really what you didn't start this to try to be a guy that ran F dorm with all these hundreds of stories. You turned your life around and you said you owed it. God told you owed it to go back and turn one life around.
That's exactly right.
And that's how it starts.
That's how it starts.
It's kind of like that Breck commercial when we were young men. Yeah. You tell two people and they'll tell two people and so on and so on.
That's exactly
That's
right.
how it starts.
That's exactly right.
Pastor, thanks so much for joining us
Thank
this
you.
morning.
I appreciate it. God bless you.
That's going to bring to a close this day in history. I was so enthralled with this that I just got flustered and just dropped the ball on this day in history. But if we had this day in history, it'd be brought to you by KT Entertainment for all your wedding reception, private party, or birthday party needs. Call KT Entertainment 352-512-2611 or find them on the web at kt4fun.com. That's KT, the number 4, fun.com. For Pastor Blaine Whitt of Xtreme Solutions and for Ryan Mace behind the scenes pushing all the right buttons, I'm Tom Schmitz. Have a good day, everybody.